Hello everybody, we've got Pokemon 30 anniversary tomorrow. Who's excited? So this is, I don't know, I guess sort of a big deal, hypothetically speaking. There is some stuff we know that is happening for the 30th anniversary, that being Fire Red and Leaf Green, releasing on the Nintendo Switch system, also playable on Switch 2, and those are going to be $20. So there's been a relatively large amount of controversy about that. Although most of us seem to have accepted that we're going to pay for that $20 price anyway, even though we are unhappy about it. So, as far as Pokemon controversies go, it's actually pretty low on the intensity scale. So that's a nice change of pace. Could be worse. They are just basically what seems to be just the straight up just ROMs of those games. Being put out on the eShop, not on Nintendo Switch Online, for a variety of reasons. Probably first and foremost of which they can get away with it. So, I guess that's reason enough to sell it to us as a separate fee, apart from the subscription. Strange they're doing that for the 30th anniversary because those games did not come out 30 years ago. They were, of course, remakes for the GBA. Several years after the original Red and Blue and Green. But personally, I'm looking forward to playing through those again. I think that will be nice. And in general, I am a fan of them releasing these classic Pokemon games. I am 100% more likely to shell out $20 for just an unaltered version of one of those original games as opposed to paying $60 for a version of that game that looks worse, like Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl. That's why I didn't pick up those games, because if I'm going to play Diamond and Pearl, I would just rather play those original versions because I think they look better, and mechanically there's also been some weird changes that I'd just stick with the original. So if someday that gets made available, I'd definitely be far more likely to play that. Anyhow, that's one thing we know that's happening. Apparently, the Pokemon the battle simulator, which is sort of Pokemon's kind of take on like a Pokemon Showdown, where it's going to be on mobile and Switch. What's it called? Pokemon. It's because they've done Stadium, they've done Coliseum. I think it's Pokemon Champions. So there's like some NSO icons that have leaked for that or something to that effect. So that's likely shadow dropping tomorrow as well. So that'll go alongside the 30th anniversary. The footage we've seen of that has looked fairly unimpressive. It does look like it's sort of aiming for a mobile look to it. And then that's just being put out on consoles as well. If you want the option to play it on a real video game system. I do wonder the audience for that because you kind of imagine that a lot of the hardcore players will just stick with stuff like Pokemon Showdown because it has quality of life and convenience features that Pokemon themselves would not put in an official game, like just being able to use any version of a Pokemon you want, any like shiny version without restrictions, which is something I believe you can do in Pokemon Showdown. And then for casual players like myself, it doesn't hold that much appeal. At least from what they've shown so far, because I'm not really in Pokemon for the hardcore battling. It can be fun to get into sometimes, but I'm really just there for the core casual experience of these Pokemon games. So who knows if that'll hold too much appeal in the long run. Just a matter of waiting to see what happens with that. And then the other big thing that is likely to happen is Pokemon Generation 10. And I'm not personally really looking forward to that. I've been burned too many times to go into one of these Pokemon Presents really excited about a new generation. I skipped Gen 8, played Gen 9 because I had some people wanting to do multiplayer. And I skipped Legends ZA because I thought it just did not look very interesting. Apart from the new battle system, the new battle system looked kind of cool, but the rest of the experience was not offering much of a selling point to me. Being stuck in the city the whole game did not seem like an exciting prospect. And just the cost cutting, just it did not look like a very enticing title to me personally, though plenty of people did like it, so good for them. With that said, Game Freak's track record for my own tastes has just been pretty abysmal. I think the few Switch games that they've released in the modern era that I've been into were Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu was pretty solid reimagining of Gen 1 with some fun quality of life features, and you get the throwing to catch. And I did enjoy Legends Arceus. It was a fun new take on a Pokemon game, and it's so strange to me that they backed away from the sort of Breath of the Wild style that they went for in that game, in big open environments. And then in the follow-up, Legends ZA, you're just confined to that rural city, or not rural, opposite of rural, urban locale of Paris-inspired Lumiose. Got the street sweeper coming along. So anyway, that's just my take on modern Pokemon. So it'll be interesting to see if it's a Switch 1 game as well as being compatible with Switch 2, or if they'll go for Switch 2 exclusivity. I would like them to just put all their eggs in the Switch 2 basket, but knowing Pokemon, they might not. We have plenty of examples of them continuing to release games on older consoles with a larger install base, like the DS getting the Gen 5 games post the 3DS, and then the 3DS getting those Gen 7 games post the Switch launch, with Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon launching on the original 3DS post the Switch launch. So I would not put it past them to just put it out on Switch, and then maybe you get some a Switch 2 edition like Legends ZA had. With that said, it would be more exciting for me if it was just purely a Switch 2 game, pure and simple. That does give them the opportunity potentially to push the visuals and performance. Who knows if they'll actually take advantage of that. We already have a Switch 2 Pokemon game and made by Game Freak with Legends ZA, and like I said, to me that just did not look very impressive. It was nice. I guess it hit 60 frames per second. So we'll see. It'll be interesting to see what amount of Gen 10 we get. Probably will not be that much. In the past, these new generations have just been teased very lightly, and then we get more info later down the line. Some possible things we could see are starters or legendary Pokemon that are on the box, or just concept art. That's the kind of thing we usually see. Probably will not be actually game footage. That tends to come later. I think that's everything that's very likely to happen alongside mobile game updates, which I don't personally find very interesting. There is always technically the possibility of a new Pokemon Mystery Dungeon game, but I don't see that happening here. If that is to happen, it just does not. The timing does not feel right. We already have a high-profile Pokemon spin-off releasing next month, just a couple weeks away, with Pokopia, which is definitely not a Mystery Dungeon game, but it does feature, I don't know, somewhat similar elements in that you are playing as a Pokemon and interacting with Pokemon characters in a world devoid of human characters. So it seems unlikely that we would get another console spin-off. Just don't see that happening. Though hopefully that is being worked on in the background. I don't think that series is necessarily totally dead. I think there's still certainly demand for it. And I think there's a chance it continues at some point. We did just get those Nintendo Switch icons for Nintendo Switch Online. You could spend platinum points to get Mystery Dungeon Switch icons, which is pretty sick. There's also the GameCube games on Nintendo Switch Online. Stadium's already out. Coliseum and Pokemon XD. I've not ever played Coliseum. I've played through XD many times, so it would be really great to get a shadow drop of Coliseum and or XD. I think if we do see them, since there's already so much stuff happening on the day of, that probably would be they just announce the dates that it's being released. Though shadow drop is possible. I just don't think it's super likely, since we already have the drop of Fire Red and Leaf Green, and then potentially what looks like might be a drop of Pokemon Champions. So, not the most likely thing to happen as a shadow drop, but we could still see some footage of it and maybe get a release date. And I guess that's all I have for Pokemon. I like that they did the 30th anniversary logo with every single freaking Pokemon out there. That's kind of impressive. Nice little bonus. Got my Bulbasaur representation up here on the screen. There he is. Nice little logo there. And Pokemon's been doing other media stuff, like they did a Super Bowl commercial, which was interesting. No announcements, just advertising that the brand is 30 years old. So there's things happening in the world of Pokemon. I just don't know how excited I am about them, specifically in regards to Generation 10. Hopefully, though, because it's such a huge milestone and it's probably releasing on the 30th anniversary, maybe they'll come up with something real special, but I can't say I'm personally counting on it. Okay, I will see you with more Pokemon discussion in the near future. I'll be talking about the Presents when that releases tomorrow. Goodbye.